All right, hold on here. I'm getting everything back to how it was. Let me see if I can put myself here. And we'll go back to this. All right. Just trying to get things settled up here. Hey, man, how's it going? Let me see. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's been a couple days since I've been on here, so there's a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff about Carlisle, a lot of stuff about Mopar news that was going on at Carlisle, as well as different things going on in the news in general. So hopefully everybody had a good week. Sorry I haven't been on making a lot of content. I was burnt out. I drove 500 miles back home. We went to, I tried to do like a vacation out of the whole thing instead of just working at the event. Family went. They didn't go to the actual car show. They went to Gettysburg and did a bunch of other stuff, but I ended up going to see the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia. Spent the day in Philadelphia. Went to Washington, D.C. while we were over there, and I took the kids, and my dad and his girlfriend went. So it was a huge event, like a huge vacation for us. So it was a lot of fun, but I was completely wore out when I got home. Like, completely wore out when I got home. So, but hold on here. Just trying to adjust some stuff on here. Want to make sure everything's coming through. So anyways, you guys, as for Carlisle, that was my first time ever going to the Chrysler Nationals, and I was really impressed. If you haven't gone, you have to go. Carlisle, Pennsylvania itself is just a small town, but the fairgrounds there, I mean, the Mopar show isn't the biggest event that they have. They have the Corvette event's the biggest one there, the Corvette Nationals. But this year they set a record for cars in attendance. Basically, it was 3,201 in one car. But it was pretty awesome. I mean, when you go there, there's so many different vendors and so many different cars. Even though they put them in the groups and stuff, I spent 2 solid days there, and I don't think I didn't see everything. I've seen probably about maybe 70% of the stuff that was there. So if you go, it's something that you have to, like, it's a lot of walking. I think we probably walked, I would say about 20 miles back and forth across the fairgrounds just to look at certain things. But you can't, I doubt that somebody can look at every single vehicle that's there in the time that the event goes on. That's how many cars are there. For vendors, if you're looking for anything Mopar wise, like parts, it doesn't matter if it's an engine mount or engine in like a bump stop, steering racks, anything. Everything you can imagine is there. Service manuals, die-cast cars. I mean, you name it, it's there. Somebody's got something there. Just amazing. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of Mopar you like. There was a barn that they had just cars that were for sale, and there were some really good deals on certain things. We seen a really cool 69 Charger that was for like $50,000. It was like, I think it was $48,000. And if anybody knows anything about Chargers, like the 69, the 68, 69, 70 Chargers, the B-body cars, they go for like at least 25 in terrible shape just because of the VIN number. And there were some really good deals there. But there was even like it was like a 2000 Chrysler Sebring convertible there that was like in mint shape. I mean, there was a little bit of everything. Somebody had a really nice 2002 Dodge Durango RT for sale for like $6,000. So there was like I said, there's a little bit of everything there. It doesn't matter what you're into. You could be into 4x4 Dodge trucks from the 70s. They got those there. You could be into 1920 Chrysler Imperials. Had those there. I mean, it was just absolutely amazing, all the stuff that came out. Again, I spent 2 days of walking around there. We were going to go back for the third day, but we decided to spend some time with the family. The third day was a very short day. Sunday was only from 7 to noon. So I didn't get a chance to go back, but it was just absolutely amazing. The people, I will tell you something, the Mopar community, if everybody says like, hey, Stellantis sucks, and people that drive, you see all these people that bash Dodge owners and stuff because of all these Hellcats doing street takeovers and stuff. If you go to Carlisle, you'll see that every single kind of Mopar community is closer knit than you would ever imagine. It is amazing, the people there. I spent more time talking to people about just random things and meeting new people and stuff like that, and everybody was super, super nice. It doesn't matter what part of the country they were from. I met a guy who came from Washington State, and I met a lot of people from the East Coast, obviously, people from Texas, Arizona, just everywhere. It was amazing. Like, it by far, probably the best Mopar event I've ever been to, and I can't say that enough. I mean, I was very impressed with it overall. I want to go back for sure. Next year, I probably won't be able to because my wife booked a cruise to Alaska. So hopefully, if not next year, the following year for sure. But it definitely needs, like, if you go, you definitely need some kind of like bicycle, an e-bike or something to patrol the grounds, because you're going to be so tired out of going from like area to area. It is just nuts. And I've seen, it was funny because I was watching people buy stuff. When I was taking a break, I was sitting there watching people, that were buying stuff at the different vendors and that. And some guy comes walking across and he's got like a 1970 steering column from a Dodge over his backpack, carrying across his arms like he was carrying the cross. Just tons of stuff. I took some video. I didn't take a lot. The reason why is because I was having more fun meeting people and talking to people, and just had an awesome time spending, with just a lot of new friends. I spent a lot of time with Frank Rhodes, which was awesome. I actually got to spend time with him. My dad and I and Frank went around for like, 2.5 hours, because he had to judge, he had to pick a car, so he was asking us to go with him to look at different cars. He ended up settling for like what was it? I think it was a Chrysler. Was it a Chrysler? I think it was a Chrysler New Yorker. It was like a 61 or 62 Chrysler New Yorker. But yeah, it was just, again, an amazing event. Cool people, tons of people that I have talked to online that I never really got to see face to face. And it doesn't matter. You can go there without a car like we did, and you'll meet new people and meet new friends. It's just an amazing community. Grant, I will tell you what, I've met Chris several times. When she was there, she was only there for like maybe 2 hours tops. I understand why. She had a couple different things she had to be like back into Detroit for. But she flew out. I give her a lot of credit. Her jet, she actually came out private jet, but her jet got delayed, so she was a little bit late. But it was just, I will tell you, like, if you watch the whole thing on my channel here of her actually doing her whole spiel about Chrysler, it did sound very, it seemed like very routine of what she was saying. But then when the Q&A part came through, and they actually showed her the questions prior, they were very open about that. She did not turn down any questions that people asked, and they were very blunt questions. Asking, is the brand for sale? She said no. Is the, what's going on with the brand? Are you going to have new cars? And somebody said, are you going to have new cars within 6 months? She said no, which is the honest to God's truth. But she did actually talk a lot about the future, and a couple things kind of like really got to me. And that was, one is she talked about the Pacifica being, still her halo vehicle. But she did talk a lot about the 300 nameplate. And she said that they're really considering bringing the 300 nameplate back because so many people love that car. So if we do get a Halcyon sedan, I would not be surprised if it's going to be called the 300 again. So hopefully Ralph and his team will build that kind of nostalgia, like an icon, like the outgoing 300 was. But she was really really impressed the crowd when she said about the 300 nameplate coming back. She talked about the new crossover coming out, and then she said, which is the C6X, which we've talked about quite a bit. She said about the multi-energy strategy going forward, and everybody was excited about that. You probably heard the biggest uproar of people when she said that they were going to make gasoline cars, hybrid cars, and electric. They're going to give people the freedom of choice. So that was probably the biggest applaud she got. They talked about, she also mentions that there's a new concept, Pacifica Overland, coming in the next couple weeks for the Overland Expo out west. So that should be pretty cool. We'll see an actual four-wheel drive off-road version of the Pacifica. So that's cool. But one thing that really caught my attention was that she confirmed what Ralph Gilles kind of slipped up on. And she talked about they're going to also build a second crossover. So they're going to look at building a compact crossover to kind of like I would say Hornet kind of like size, Jeep Compass size. So that's going to be a very solid vehicle because that's one of the most competitive segments in the U.S. right now. It's a C segment crossover. And then she mentioned what really caught me off guard was she mentioned that they are looking at, and they're in talks of maybe building a compact sedan. An affordable car is what she called it. So I think, with this new affordable car, she said something under $30,000. We'll probably see something kind of like the Chrysler 100, like, the Dodge Dart kind of thing that they were going to build and they got canceled. But it sounds like Antonio Filosa, like she said, Antonio Filosa has doubled down on Chrysler. He's putting way more money into Chrysler than, what originally was supposed to be intended for. It sounds like Chrysler's going to have an entire lineup. And she mentioned something that really, really got to, meant something to me. Was she said, at the beginning of the 2000s, or she said, what did she say? About a decade ago, Chrysler had almost 8 vehicles in their lineup, which they did. They had the Crossfire, convertible, Town and Country, Sebring convertible, Sebring sedan. They had the Sebring Coupe, Aspen. They had the LH. Well, at the time they had the 300. They had a ton of stuff. They actually had a full lineup of vehicles, PT Cruiser, all that stuff. But the funny thing is she said that she wants Chrysler to have an entire lineup again. And of course, that's not going to happen overnight. It's just not. We're going to probably see that by the end of the decade that they'll have at least 4, maybe 5 vehicles. But we don't expect it to see 8 vehicles immediately. Everything's been kind of pushed back. Like the Pacifica update's been pushed back. Reason why is Chrysler or Stellantis is hard up for money right now. The stock, is down really low. They've lost a lot of their sales. So, they have to make cutbacks on certain things. But just to know that there's product and they're looking at different segments, not just, oh, hey, we're going to throw a vehicle in this segment and this one. To have an entire lineup of vehicles kind of planned out, hopefully it will go through. And she said we'll see some of that coming up in a proposal soon. So again, that's going to be very interesting. I called that they were working on a Chrysler Compact C4U. It doesn't have a code name yet, so hopefully we'll see that very soon. Yeah, no problem, Anthony. I love Chris. Glad to see that she doesn't have her hands tied anymore like Tavares was at the helm. And the other thing was, too, is I will say, I had a lot of doubts about Chris. A lot. How can I say this? I think a lot of it had to do with restrictions from Tavares. I understand she did mention something that was very interesting about the airflow concept. We all wanted the airflow. And she said that it went to, these clinics was what they have. So basically what they do is they pay, Joe Schmo to come in and kind of look over their vehicle and tell them what their honest opinion is. She said the airflow did pretty well, but like for today, but would it do well 5 years down the road? No. And that's how long the project was, intended to make production. So she said that they had to scrap the styling. Now the core of the vehicle will be the same. It'll still be the same platform. It'll still be the same, underneath, but it will have a totally different look. So that itself was kind of appeasing, saying, hey, what we heard was she didn't like the styling. That's not the truth. The truth is they went to clinics and people said, yeah, it looks nice, but it's not going to be like, competitive 5 years down the road. And that's why they're bringing out the Halcyon and changing up the Chrysler Design Studio and stuff like that. She also went into detail about, SRT. Her one person she left out was Bob Bordendorf, who is the Jeep CEO. But she said she had meetings with Tim Kuniskis and Matt McAleer for the future of SRT, and they've basically lined up what kind of products they want for the SRT portfolio, which sounds really cool. She said there will be future Chrysler SRT products, and it sounds like, originally we heard that the airflow was supposed to have like a high performance model. They were going to start out with, like, if you look at the concept was dual motor, 402 horsepower in total, so basically 201 horsepower per EDM, all-wheel drive, 400 volt, but they were supposed to work on an 800 volt car as well. So whether that car be electric or probably internal combustion, I would say it would probably be internal combustion. They could do a crossover, they could do a new sedan, and everybody is excited about a new sedan. She said the one thing that kind of caught people off guard, though, was she said, we returned to the Hemi. Well, she didn't mean Chrysler necessarily. There's nothing really like solid about Chrysler having a Hemi just yet. That she was talking about Ram bringing back the 5.7. So hopefully we'll get a Hemi product from Chrysler. I would love to see another Chrysler like full-size sedan with a Hemi. I think that would be great. Like either something new, if it's going to be a couple years down the road, I would love to see a Gen 4 Hemi. But she did say that, there are future SRT products in the works for the Chrysler brand. So a lot of people were excited about that. So let's see here. They never replace a vehicle when they discontinue a model. And that's the biggest problem. And that's not just for North America. They have that same issue in Europe. And that's the problem they've been running into Europe is they discontinue a product and then they don't have one to fill in the gap. Stellantis really has to stop doing that. Now, we're going to talk about the Hornet in a little bit, but I'm going to try not to talk too much about the Hornet ordeal in this live stream. I have kind of my own thoughts on that, but that's another product that we're going to be talking about. Let's see here. Chrysler needs serious product, but at the same time, they shouldn't cheapen the brand either with low-cost vehicles. 100% agree. So Chrysler needs to get out of that whole mainstream, kind of motif. They need to move to blue collar luxury and let Dodge be mainstream. Dodge has to quit being this performance brand. I'm sorry. Dodge has shown that the sales for these performance cars aren't as good as what they were as a mainstream brand. They can offer performance cars. That's what SRT is for. But that Dodge needs to build on a whole mainstream brand kind of motif going forward. So we'll see. Let's see here. I literally can't wait for these cars. I just hope the long wait means better built vehicle both inside and out, and on the electrical side. More reliability is what I want over anything else. 1,000% agree. 1,000% agree. So again, Chris was really nice. She ended up, it was kind of funny because Frank Rhodes basically told me like he wanted her to go. She'd never been to Carlisle before. She never knew how big Carlisle was. And a lot of people wrote in the comments saying like, hey, she doesn't know anything about Chrysler. She doesn't know anything about Carlisle. Well, a lot of people don't know about Carlisle. That's the thing. And I think like Frank wanted to give her a whole kind of tour of what to see about, the different things going on with it wasn't just about the brand in the past 10 years. He wanted to show her the history of the brand. What does Chrysler mean in general? Let me see here. Hopefully you guys are seeing me all right. My live stream's like dogging out. So hopefully if you guys can see me okay, put a thumbs up in the thing. Because hold on here. There we go. All right. So anyways, yeah, she was only there for a couple hours, but Frank basically had her go on a tour of the grounds, and he wanted to show her, like, she went up to a Sherman tank. She actually got to climb up on the tank and look inside and actually, be around it. And they told her about the history of the Chrysler multi-bank engine, what that tank meant for World War II, what Chrysler meant for World War II. She's seen Frank's air raid siren, that 1952 firepower Hemi air raid siren that, that was for civil defense. There's more to Chrysler than what is just passenger cars. There's a big history there. And then they took her through like everything. The 70s cars they showed her. They showed her, obviously, she knew about muscle cars and stuff like that. She knows about the basic, the letter series 300s and stuff. But they also took her through the modern stuff. And they wanted her to see the passion behind, the owners for even the Chargers and Challengers, but the 300s as well. All the customized cars that are there. And they wanted to show her how passionate the new generation of Mopar owners are. She also went over to the Expo Center, which had, the turbine cars there, had the Chrysler Atlantic there. She's obviously, seen those and rode in those and stuff like that. But they also had a ton of, like, privately owned cars going back from the 20s, from Chrysler Imperials, like actual, closed, like limousine ones. They had a little bit of everything, DeSoto's, all that, and she got to see every bit of it. So while she was only there for a couple hours, every time I ran into her, so mind you, I was kind of going, like in front of where she was going to go. She stopped to talk to people. She shook their hands, listened to what they said. She didn't get to see every single car, but they showed her the most important stuff that they thought she needed to know. She was very personable. And again, she didn't hide from people that confronted her about, hey, you need to fix this brand, blah, 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 blah. She was very open about it. Another thing about her was, again, I met a lot of cool people, and Brandon Nestor, he's a really cool enthusiast. Him and his family are some of the nicest people I've ever met. Here she is, right here. There's Frank Rhodes, and here's Brandon Nestor. Now, Brandon, he's confined to a wheelchair and stuff, but he's a super passionate Chrysler diehard enthusiast. And he actually wrote Chris personally through an email. And she seen him there and actually went up and talked to him face to face. You can see the lineup of people around her. This is her just coming off stage. There's people lined up, and she went and talked to Brandon and his family, took pictures with him, shook his hand, talked to his family. And it wasn't just him. It was everybody there that wanted to talk to her. She stopped and talked to him. And I give her a lot of credit. A lot of credit. Some CEOs can just go and, just like, hey, this is what it is. This is our future, blah, 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 blah. I'm out of here. Even though she was limited for time, she went and talked to every single person that wanted to talk to her. So I thought that was really, admirable of her. So again, kudos to her. Kudos for her to come, even if her plane was late. I think she did an awesome job coming in, talking about the future of the brand. Didn't back down, about questions about, is the brand for sale? Why is it taking so long for product to come? She laid it all out and was very open to everybody. So again, I think she did a really good job. And I think by her going there, not only does it show that she actually cares about the brand, but her talking to people one-on-one, shaking people's hands, and understanding that there's more to it, even if she's not really a car person. By her going there and actually talking to the people and seeing how the community is, build a lot of credit for her. I still think that she needs to release photos, teaser images of future product, build up excitement for something. There's no reason why, like this new Pacifica update or the C6X crossover, why they can't take a picture of a tail lamp or take a picture of the new badge on something, darken the photo really like a lot, and then put it on social media. Maybe like do one a month. Something crazy that you can't even tell what the vehicle is, but show that you're working on something. You know, they're pretty creative. Ralph Shields is pretty creative when he goes on Instagram. He'll post like different teaser stuff once in a while. They should be doing that to build up excitement for the brand. And I really think that they need to do stuff like that going forward to really promote that there is change coming. They can't just, wait for people to complain. They're doing more damage by doing that. So hopefully she learned. Again, I think she did a great job. The thing is you can talk the talk, but will you walk the walk? And hopefully we'll start seeing product next year. Again, we'll see an updated Pacifica. Hopefully at the end of the year, we'll see the new crossover, the C6X, actually make it into, production. And then hopefully later we'll see an SRT product and then a new sedan. So the way it's going to go that we know is it's going to start with updated Pacifica for 2020 in 2026 as a 2027 model. It's going to have the new crossover. So the C6X, that's going to be a D segment, basically a Wagoneer-esque kind of version of for Chrysler. We're going to get a new sedan. And the sedan should be in what I've heard is 2028, like a 2028 model. It'll be out in 2027 sometime. And then we're going to have, eventually by 2029, we'll have a compact crossover. So hopefully they'll have one product each year kind of rolling out. That will be kind of cool. Again, they're working on something under $30,000, whether it be a sedan, which I kind of hope it is, or maybe a spiritual successor to the PT Cruiser. She said that they need to work on an affordable, compact, what she said is car. So it could be like a PT Cruiser kind of vehicle or something. It could be. We know that Jeep's working on or what they said was a $25,000 EV, but it's not going to be $25,000 with inflation. Realistically, it'll probably be close to 30. But if they can do something like a Jeep Renegade kind of vehicle for Chrysler, make it into a modern day PT Cruiser, they could have a huge hit on their hands. So we'll see. I just give her a lot of credit. Let's see here. If you know anything about the brands you know about Carlisle, she needed to sit in the Abrams tank that was based off the XM1. Well, she did go in the Sherman tank. That was for sure. She did see the multi-bank engine. There's some pictures of her up on there. I didn't get to see her up on that. I was actually walking over to the expo to see her go over to that. But she was up shaking people's hands and all that stuff. It was really cool. Guess Chris was pretty open enough to decide to hear others, which is good virtue for executives. Yeah, I believe so. The thing that it taught me the most is that, she's willing to listen to the people. So, and again, my big thing with Stellantis right now has nothing to do with them listening. It's execution, right? Bringing the product to market. Second is quality. They have to fix their quality. Their quality right now is garbage. I'm sorry. A lot of their product is, Tavares has cheapened out stuff so bad. And if you watch my video I did on my Charger Daytona, I show you some of the stuff on the new Charger that they cheaped out on. And it's the dumbest stuff. Dumbest stuff. And 3 is backing it up with actual, not just warranty, but making sure that people have a good ownership experience. So there's been a lot of issues with the Charger Daytona, and we're going to be talking about a video that went viral yesterday about the Charger Daytona RT that somebody from Indiana posted on their website or on YouTube. This person had a lot of problems with their car. We know that the RTs are flooded with issues still. However, it's stupid stuff. And again, people shouldn't be having bad experiences. This person who bought leased this car, they leased it because it was cheap. They got the basic model. But when you look at the sticker price, it's still over $50,000. You expect more out of the car. And that's why the Charger Daytonas have failed. I don't think it really has to do a lot with the EVs. I think a lot of it has to do with price and what the execution is. If these cars were launched without problems and they were cheaper, more affordable, I think they would have been more accepted. The cars that we got were overpriced, not done in development. My car, knock on wood, has been pretty flawless so far, but I've seen so many people frustrated, especially RT owners. And, Stellantis is, if you go on Mopar Tech Jordan's YouTube channel, he talks a lot about like some of the new issues. Stellantis isn't willing to cover some of that because they don't want to. It's not that they don't want to, it's just that they're trying to limit the cars coming in. So Jordan actually talks about, what the things that they're looking for to get these cars fixed. So, I mean, there's a lot of things going on, and hopefully Antonio Filosa fixes that. They have to. If they don't, they're going to damage they're going to piss off so many current owners and current enthusiasts that they might lose a huge majority of the people that actually go out and buy multiple cars from them. So, again, by cheapening things under Tavares, this cost cutting, it's not only damaged the sales, it's not only damaged their stock price, they're losing enthusiasts, people that buy multiple cars from them. So hopefully they'll fix that. And again, Antonio Filosa, he's the new CEO. I don't expect change in the next 2 months. I expect change 15 months from now. I want to see the brands fixed. 15 months, over a year, just under a year and a half is plenty of time to get new product lineup, organized, ready to go. Find out what they're doing with production, manufacturing. There's no reason with the tariffs why they can't have all these plants running at full capacity. There are so many underutilized plants, and I've been talking to quite a few people about the Belvedere situation. What we're hearing now is Belvedere might not even build the truck. We've been hearing it like back and forth. We're hearing that Belvedere might not build the truck. I talked about it a while ago. Toledo was supposedly going to pick it up. It might go back to that. Belvedere might become what they're calling maybe a flex plant, maybe building more product. There's no reason why these plants can't build at full levels. We know that Shap, right, is at capacity pretty much. They're running 2 shifts right now. There's no reason why right down the street is Warren Truck. They can't do the Ram Charger and Ram 1500 Rev. They're going to be doing the Grand Wagoneer 4xe then the Wagoneer 4xe. There's no reason why they can't do that. So there's a lot of stuff going on that they have to get fixed in the next few months and come up with this to the stockholders and say, hey, this is our plan going forward. 15 months is plenty of time to start fixing stuff. And I'm not going to be super judgmental on that, but they won't be able to fix stuff overnight. But again, execution, quality, and they have to make sure that people have good ownership experience. That's the 3 key things that Antonio Filosa has to fix. So the problem is in order to fix quality, you got to have money. And even though they had a record, I would say 8-9 months ago, they had what their stock was worth. What was it worth? It was in the high 40s. And now it's worth $10 a share. So they've lost that. They've lost a lot of their sales. And you got to remember too, the market still has high interest rates. You go buy a $50,000 car, you're paying over $1,000 a month. Not many people can afford that. I'm sorry. So they got to come up with a whole new plan. obviously with COVID and the inflation under the last administration, things have gotten crazy. Things have gotten more expensive, but people aren't making more money. I'm sorry. It's just, like my wife and I were talking today. We were talking about how much we made, 2 years ago, and before the inflation, or actually like 3 years ago, with inflation, all of a sudden, we're both making about the same. We have less money than ever before. So a lot of people just simply can't afford, these expensive vehicles. I bought my 300C, right? Back, 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago. I ordered that car. It took 9 months to get here, and the interest rates went. I had perfect credit all the way up. Even with 800 credit score, even with putting money down, my payment for a $55,000 car, plus if you consider taxes and all that BS, and then on top of it, I bought the warranties. My car was like $61,000, and I was paying almost $1,300 a month for it. I mean, that's crazy, and that's the reason why I got rid of it, was because I'm sorry that it wasn't worth it. I seen it sitting there. I could afford it. It was tight. But it sat in the garage, and I drove it for 900 miles, and I'm like, I'm just sitting it and just watching it sit here, and I'm not really enjoying it because of how much I was spending on it. But not many people can do that. Not many people have the luxury of having a third vehicle. I'm sorry, but when you actually go out and look at these vehicles, not a lot of people can afford them. So that's what Chris, that's what Matt, and that's what Tim have to come in, and Bob Bordendorf, they have to come out and realize that this whole premium level of vehicles, like the Wagoneer, they're wondering why the Wagoneer's not selling. You can put it down to $55,000 as a starting price, but once you start adding up the options that people want, you're looking at $75,000, $80,000. Not many people can afford that. You can lease stuff pretty reasonable, but even lease payments are getting up to the like $800, $900 mark, where before they were like $400, $500 a month. So you're really getting into a touchy kind of area, and that's what they have to realize is, one of the videos I did was about Tim Kuniskis saying about how there wasn't going to be a $40,000 truck ever again, a full-size truck ever again. And somebody asked him, hey, what happens if you strip out like power windows, the touch screen, all this stuff, how much is it, can you get it under $40,000? He said if you strip out power windows, power locks, all that stuff, basically because of the government mandates, so many airbags, all this safety and tech into the cars now, really the stuff that he can cut will only save about $1,000 on the vehicles. And then with inflation and everything, ever since COVID, everything's gone up. They have to, in order to, again, they're in business to be a business. They really can't. I mean, here's where it gets tricky, because Tim says they can't build a $40,000 truck, but we see incentives on those vehicles. The problem is they're losing what Tim is looking at is their profit margin. Now, they can take and not make as much profit on these vehicles, but again, they're in business to be in business. You're not in business to lose money. So with that being said, Ram is looking at other options. Hey, we're going to build a mid-size truck because honestly, a mid-size truck will be more affordable. They have to start doing that. They can't rely on these premium vehicles anymore. I'm sorry, it's just not going to work out. I love my Charger. I love my new Charger Daytona. I know, again, I have told you about the whole EV experience. Would I buy another EV? Probably not. But I love the car. But for $80,000, if I had to pay $80,000 for that car, there's no way in hell I'd ever buy it. I'm sorry. There's no way. So that's what they got to look at. Let's see here. Seeing is stronger than hearing or saying. Wish Chris and Antonio could do what you said to ensure people better. And I think transparency is going to be a big thing with Antonio, because again, everything he's kind of touched has turned to kind of gold. That's the reason why he's in the position that he's been in. He was handpicked by, Sergio Marchionne. He was one of those people like Tim Kuniskis that wasn't really in the lineup to be in management, but he's seen what he was capable of and put him in that position. He's a younger guy for being a auto exec. He loves performance cars. He really loves the American brands because, again, if you look down in South America, he really promoted Ram and Jeep especially. That's the reason why he became the Jeep CEO for a while. But I think the biggest challenge going forward is, you know, you look at full-size trucks now. And like the Ram 1500 is such a mammoth truck compared to what the Ram 1500 was in 2002 when the DR trucks came out. If you put a DR Ram, which is the Ram from 2002 to 2008, basically the third generation Ram, 1500. If you put that up against the mid-size trucks like a Ford Ranger, you're pretty close to like the current Ford Ranger. If you put that truck up against those trucks now, your mid-size trucks now are basically what your full-size trucks were back in the early 2000s. Trucks have gotten so big because they constantly grow because people want more interior space, but the problem is they keep growing because then they can meet emission standards and then they can meet crash test standards because they're bigger vehicles and stuff. There just comes to a point where you get to the vehicle that's just too damn expensive. So again, by offering vehicles that are, how can I say it, more smaller. I'm not saying like everybody has to drive a compact SUV, but what I'm saying is they got to take and expand out of the lineups that they had before. If you look at the, Chrysler Corporation or Daimler Chrysler lineups, they had a car for pretty much every segment. Stellantis doesn't have that. We got rid of the Renegade here, right? The Renegade, my wife had a Renegade. She had a 2021 Renegade. Great little vehicle. It looks like a go-kart. Removable roof panels, all that stuff. Super cheap. It had a 1.3 liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, 185 horsepower. Had plenty of power for her, but it was a great little fun car. They need to do stuff like that again. Need to bring out affordable vehicles. For right now, Stellantis doesn't have anything that a college kid could afford. If you are working a full-time job and going to college, there is nothing in the Stellantis lineup other than maybe a Compass with discounts on it that you can afford. I mean, it's pretty sad. They need to have vehicles spread out. Again, things have gotten more expensive, but people's wages haven't actually caught up to that. So until that happens, they're going to have to start focusing on getting rid of all these, bigger vehicles and start focusing on bringing more mass, again, I don't want to say compact vehicles, but more affordable, smaller vehicles. So basically, instead of having the Wagoneer and then having, the Grand Cherokee, and then you got the thing that gets me is the D segment is very competitive. So that you have the Wagoneer S, you have the Cherokee coming, and then you have the Recon. You have 3 vehicles in that. To me, that was a waste of money. Jeep could have just done with one vehicle. They could have just built the Recon, named it the Cherokee, had it as a hybrid, and have it as a EV, and it would have done everything as one vehicle. Now you're building 3 vehicles. I think that was the biggest waste of money. The Wagoneer S is nice, but you did away with the Wagoneer sub-brand. So to me, you're really just competing with yourself. The Wagoneer S would have been a better Dodge than it would have been a Wagoneer S. If that makes any sense to you. If you've driven a Wagoneer S, you would totally understand because, yeah, it's got the, the Macintosh sound system and stuff, but driving-wise, 600 horsepower, D-segment crossover, it would have been a great Dodge. I'm sorry. It made more sense to be a Dodge than anything. But, again, you're looking at a $70,000 vehicle. Not many people can afford $70,000. The Wagoneer S, if it was a hybrid and was down to $45,000 with that vehicle, it doesn't have to have top-of-the-line stuff. That would be more acceptable in my opinion. So, again, the problem is they're building too many high-end vehicles. You have to quit doing that, and you have to move over to build more mainstream, basic, smaller cars. If you can't afford to like produce the bigger cars and make them cheaper, you got to move down to smaller cars. It just makes sense that way. I mean, the business case is you want to produce as many vehicles as possible. Under Carlos Tavares, he wanted to build fewer vehicles, run the lines not as long, because basically he wanted to run minimal shifts, because if the plant's not operating, they don't have to spend money. That's not how you do business. That's not how you do good business. You want to sell as many vehicles as possible. And you want to make sure that you don't sell too many, because if you know anything about like the AMC Gremlin, the Gremlin was a huge hit when it came out. The problem was they built one for everybody. And then the second year, sales dropped off dramatically because everybody who wanted one got one. So if you're going to do something, you want to make sure you kind of fit in that little niche area where you're selling a ton of cars, but you're making sure that they're not staying on lots. They don't have huge discounts on them. Because again, the reason why we see all these vehicles having discounts on them is because people aren't buying them. They're too damn expensive. So there's no reason why Dodge can't have a mainstream lineup. They can't have a replacement Dodge Journey. They can't have a compact sedan like the Attitude down in Mexico. There's no reason why they can't have a full lineup of vehicles and then have their SRT stuff. And I think that's where it's going to go. I think that's what the point of SRT is. SRT it won't be its own brand. It's going to go back to how it was in 2006. It's going to be the performance arm of stuff. So I think right now, honestly, right now is the perfect time to get Dodge and Ram back together. I think right now is the perfect time to, make Dodge and Ram the mainstream brands, and then have an entire portfolio to compete against Ford and Chevrolet. I think it's the perfect time to revitalize Chrysler into that blue-collar luxury, which Ralph Gilles and Chris. Here's another thing. Chris Fuel, I always thought her name was Fuel. It's Fuel. Everybody was telling me it's Fuel, because the original way they introduced her at all the things was Chris Fuel. It's Chris Fuel, according to what everybody said at Carlisle. So, anyways, Chris Fuel, I think this is the perfect time to revitalize Chrysler as that blue-collar luxury brand. If you look at Buick, you got to remember, Buick has a very important history with Chrysler. And the reason why is Walter P. Chrysler ran Buick. When he came over to Maxwell and he started the Chrysler Corporation, the Chrysler brand was based on what Buick was then, blue-collar luxury. And a luxury brand that was affordable to anybody, okay? The blue-collar worker. Somebody that worked at the plant that wanted a nice ride, that wanted that luxurious experience, they could have it. If you look at Buick now, Buick basically consists of like 4 crossovers. But their one crossover, the Invista, that's Avenir package, starts out at like $28,000, and it's pretty loaded, and it's a small compact crossover. It's not that bad looking of a vehicle, and that's the kind of stuff they need to do. There's no reason why they can't build a $28,000 blue collar luxury SUV